Hey everyone, this is Mike, and today we're going to be talking a little bit about Dauntless. Now, as you know, I am someone that really enjoys the monster hunting genre, and when it comes down to monster hunting games on the PC, there aren't really that many options available for you. As far as I know, there's only really two, and that is Monster Hunter World and Dauntless. Now, back when Monster Hunter World was being announced for the PC, we didn't really have anything else to play, and Dauntless back then was in a closed beta, I believe, which I was able to get access to. I played it a fair bit back then, but then of course once Monster Hunter World came out on the PC, that was kind of the game that I would play when I wanted to hunt some monsters, basically. Now, towards the end of Monster Hunter World's lifespan, waiting for Iceborne, there was a little bit of content drought where I kind of took a break from the game for a few months. Because I knew that once Iceborne came out, I would just go ham on the game and enjoy it a bunch again as well. And as I said before, taking breaks is very good. I've made a video on that at some point as well. But basically, if you're getting burned out on a game or you're just playing it just to play it, take a break and then maybe come back when you're a little bit more excited for it. And that was kind of what I did in the time before Iceborne came out. I took a break from Monster Hunter World for a few weeks, few months. And during that time I played a bit of Dauntless, because back then I believe Dauntless had its official release, going from open beta into its actual release date. And I actually had a lot of fun with the game. It was pretty fun to play. It was a very different style of monster hunting game as well. Of course, you still have the same thing, like go hunt monsters on their own island, so to speak. You're thrown into an arena with the monsters, so to speak, and then you just hunt it for materials, use those materials to craft weapons and armor, blah blah blah. Very similar, but when it came down to how the gameplay feel of the game was, Dauntless is very different from Monster Hunter. The way I like to look at it is kind of compare them how I like to compare Call of Duty against Battlefield. Call of Duty is much more snappier, much more fast-paced, whereas something like Battlefield feels like there is a lot more weight behind your actions, and it's not necessarily clunky, but a little bit more sturdy or something like that. And it's kind of like that with Monster Hunter versus Dauntless as well. Dauntless is much more fast-paced, it has much more snappier actions and that kind of stuff, whereas something like Monster Hunter has a lot more weight behind all of your actions. And both of these gameplay styles can be very fun. Of course, I have played a couple hundred of hours of Monster Hunter World, so of course I enjoy this weighty gameplay style as well. But at the moment, I'm just getting a little bit burned out on Monster Hunter World. I decided to take a little break so that when the new monster Elatrion comes out, I'll just be excited to play it again, but I still had that little itch to go and hunt some monsters, and then I kind of remembered that Dauntless was still there as well, so I ended up downloading it again, or actually updating it because I still had it installed, and playing it again the last few days. And I've actually been playing it a lot. I already have a couple of weapons getting pretty high upgraded. I still need to unlock some of like the heroic patrols and that kind of stuff, because I just didn't progress that far back when the game originally released. But of course, still working towards that stuff at the moment. I've hit like maximum upgrade on some of my stuff until I get access to those higher level behemoths and that kind of stuff. But so far, really enjoying myself, really enjoying the new weapons as well. Because of course, the Aether strikers, which are the things that you can see me use in the background, was a relatively new weapon. Well, relatively new. It's been out for like 6 or 7 months at this point, I think. But I hadn't played in that time. So I basically just never really had the chance to try these yet. When they came out and I first saw some gameplay of it, I thought that they looked amazing to play, and now that I've actually got my hands on them, I just can't put them down again. It's my favorite weapon in the game right now, not necessarily because of how fast-paced it is, but actually because it is such a nice, complete package of a weapon, which I really enjoy about it. Now, when it comes down to the weapons that I played before, I mainly played Hammer and Axe, which are still very fun to play. I've played them a bunch as well when I like first started up again and was grinding for materials to build Aether strikers myself. But now that I've got a couple at like +7 upgrade, I think it is, I can pretty much use them at all points unless I get bounties for some other weapons or something like that. But so far I am really enjoying these weapons because of a couple of different reasons. So I'll explain real quick how they work, and then I'll kind of talk about why I think that is such an exciting gameplay style, so to speak. So we have 3 different combos that we can use. We have a light combo, a heavy combo, and a combination of the two. Now, each of these 3 combos also grants you a different mantra. You have 3 different mantras that you can get depending on all 3 of your different combos. The way the mantra system works is relatively simple. You have 4 different mantras available to you. You have a dash attack that becomes available after you execute one of the 3 combos. So it doesn't matter which one you use. As long as you get a new mantra, you get access to your dash. but you also have a like a hold down to activate kind of mantra, and this one changes depending on how many combos you have executed or how many mantras you have available to you. So if you only have one mantra available, you get a attack speed buff attack, or like attack speed buffing, yeah, ability, I guess we'll call it. If you have two available, you do a damaging attack, but this one will also grant you a damage buff. And then if you have all three active, then you'll be able to use your nuking attack, so to speak, which is either like a Kamehameha or some kind of like, I don't know, clap your fists together explosion in front of you, which looks incredibly cool and which I have been using for the most part now ever since that I unlocked it, because you do need to unlock it through your masteries, I believe. That one has been a lot of fun to play with. Now, because you do need all three of your combos, so to speak, in order to get to that final attack, that big nuke, it means that you have to be using your whole kit. When it comes down to some of the other weapons, there are like strongest combos to use, and that means that, for example, if you're fighting, let's say, a stationary target, let's just put it like that. Of course, the behemoth is never going to stand still for the most part unless it's knocked on the floor, but let's say it's like a stationary target, right? You always want to be using your strongest hitting attacks, because that is going to do the most DPS for you, and more DPS means that you kill the behemoth faster, means that you can farm other behemoths more quickly as well, and it's usually like your go-to thing to do, because more damage is always more fun. Now, there is also something that can get a little bit stale, because, for example, you're always hitting that same combo over and over on the behemoth, because it is just the best thing that you can do, and doing other combos is most likely not going to be the same DPS output. More DPS is always better, of course. And then, well, there are different combos that might situationally be better, of course, but let's just put it into like a vacuum environment, of course. So because of that, it can get a little bit boring playing the same weapon, because you're always executing the same combos. Now, when it comes down to the Aether Strikers, since you do need to cycle through all of your combos in order to get access to those different mantras, it means that you are basically utilizing your whole kit at all times. You need to be using your three different combos, but when you use them or how you use them doesn't matter that much either, because you can, for example, do your light attack to get a mantra from that and then execute your attack speed buffing ability, but you can also just do a like your heavy attack, get one mantra, and then use the attack speed buff. So there's different ways on getting to those mantras, of course. Like you can combine what you want as well, like for example, say you do your light attack to get the first mantra, and then you see that the behemoth goes down, then you switch into your heavy attack, and then you get your second mantra for the attack buff or something like that. But for example, say the behemoth is running around a lot, you just use, for example, light attack into your medium attack and get it that way. So it's really cool how it's so flexible, and it kind of plays together with the gameplay style as well. It's really fast, you're really nimble. Because the animations aren't crazy long, it means that it is a lot easier to dodge certain attacks as well, because certain weapons, of course, will kind of get you animation locked into their attacks, and then reacting can be a little bit tougher. Of course, once you know the moveset of the behemoths a lot better and you're kind of used to fighting them, then this will of course come as second nature for you. But because I haven't played the game in months, getting used to all of these different monsters' attacks again, it is very nice to have a weapon that doesn't have a huge amount of animation locking attached to it, meaning that I don't have as much trouble having to roll through attacks and that kind of stuff, which makes it a lot more fun for me to play. And then of course, the damage output of these things is pretty insane as well. At the moment, I have a pretty defensive build going, because of course I want to try to get used to all of the things. And for the higher level behemoths, my armor is not up to par yet either, so that's why I'm running with some defensive stuff. But it does mean that I can play incredibly aggressive. The main weapons that I like using are the Skarn weapons, I believe they're called. It's the Terra element, and whenever I get consecutive hits on the monster with that, I gain a stacking shield. And this shield, of course, can help me quite a bit, being more survivable. And then I'm also running, I believe, Toughness, which gives me more HP, and then Iceborne, which makes it so that once I drop below 50% HP, I get lifesteal as well as a defensive buff, meaning that I basically almost never have to go and heal, because I can just lifesteal back to that 50% point. And then, of course, the damage reduction I get from Iceborne also makes me very tanky once I drop below 50%. So just means that I can play incredibly aggressive, which then also works really well together with this weapon, because it is is such a fast-paced mobile weapon as well, and I've just been having a blast playing them. So if you're a little bit burned out on Monster Hunter, maybe from all of the different content updates that have been there, you've been playing a ton but you just want a little bit of fresh air, still want to hunt monsters, maybe give Dauntless a try. There's a bunch of different weapons that you can go and try out, and they all are pretty unique compared to something like in Monster Hunter World. Because of course Monster Hunter also has it in like a hammer, for example, but the hammer in Dauntless uses ammo and stuff like that, which feels very different. And then of course you also have a sword, which then again feels very different to the longsword in Monster Hunter again as well. So just because they look the same, or because they have like the same names like hammer, axe, that kind of stuff, they still feel incredibly different, so definitely worth to give a try. And then of course the gameplay experience itself also feels incredibly different. As I said before, Call of Duty versus Battlefield, kind of like this as well over here for the monster hunting genre. But that's pretty much gonna be it for me. I've really been enjoying Dauntless lately. I'm gonna be playing it a bunch more over the next few days. I might even be able to play it with some friends if I can get them into it as well. Because some of my friends have been playing a lot of Monster Hunter as well, and maybe they might enjoy a little bit of a change of pace as well. But that's gonna be it for me. I want to thank you for watching. I want to thank my Patreons for supporting me, and I'll see you in the next one.